What's up, everybody? Welcome to KJ Studios. It's your boy Jay.
It's your girl Kaya.
And today we have a reaction video.
Hey guys, what's up? We're back with another video. And you guys, some of you guys who may have been following us, you guys already know we already do a lot of content on Star Wars as it is. We did cover even back when they announced the Ahsoka series. And so we feel like it will only be right to come back and react to the official trailer. Yeah, there was another trailer that came out before this that we weren't able to react to. Yeah, it's all good though, but we're here now.
Nothing. We don't do teasers.
Yeah, so I think this video...
Teasers, only officials.
We do teasers a lot, actually. Oh. But yeah, so this one right here, I think it came out a few hours ago. And so we're just going to get right into it and get into everything after that, right? So yeah, let's get into it.
War is inevitable. One must destroy in order to create.
Don't want to.
We are no Jedi.
Oh.
I started hearing whispers of Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire. What happens when you find Thrawn?
Power, such as you'd never dreamed.
I've spent most of my life fighting a war.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one. You and I both know who could help you with this.
Since this fire was blind.
As ever.
Guess not.
Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him, just like I walked away from Sabine.
Ooh.
You never made things easy for me, Master.
As a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can. But I'm counting on you to see this through.
Nice haircut.
Ooh. That's cool. That kind of like the flashback to the series.
Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings.
Buckle up.
If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain. You have no power.
Anakin spoke highly of you.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
We have a lot of work to do.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
All right, so my initial thoughts, well, I know for him, he's actually seen the series with all of them together. So I think he has more context.
You've never watched Rebels?
I never made it to that part yet.
People, I've been telling her to watch. Star Wars Rebels, Bad Batch, Clone Wars.
I'm at the end of Clone Wars.
She has a problem with being able to watch a series all the way through.
Not really.
But she can watch Futurama.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay, you got a point.
All I'm saying is she should have watched it. I tried to get her to watch it. Okay,
I do have a little bit of a problem with consistency with shows, but aside from that fact, I did like the things that I do know from that series. It's cool that they've actually included it in live action, and even like the little art piece that they had. It was interesting how it was like still in like the animation form. If you notice that part, like those little details, that I felt like was really interesting. I feel like honestly, like a lot of people were saying, is that the graphics, the universe, and everything is going to be really like immersive and kind of eye catching. That's one of the things that I noticed for sure. Like it really does look realistic, and I think that's something that Disney does pretty well. But this one seems a little bit more like, wow, it looks cool. Like the costumes look good, everything looks cool.
Me speaking strictly based from time frame, this looks like this is taking place after the events of Star Wars Rebels. So this is kind of like something of a post look,
almost like a reunion for them. Almost.
What's interesting to me is that's what I looked down at when I was trying to look, because I'm like, maybe I missed something, but from what I know in Star Wars lore, Sabine Wren is not force sensitive, but it appears here that she is force sensitive. We don't see Ezra Miller make a actual appearance in the show. We do see him in a hologram, what looks like probably a holocron.
Yeah.
But we don't actually see him in the show, and we know that at the end of, well, for those who have seen Star Wars Rebels, at the end of it, they kind of go their separate ways.
Right.
So, especially after what happened to Kanan Jarrus, with Kanan Jarrus dying. Anybody who doesn't know who Kanan Jarrus is, look him up. Kanan Jarrus is he was the Padawan of Bepa Bilaba, who was the Padawan of Mace Windu. He is the Padawan of Kanan Jarrus.
Okay.
And they kind of all went their separate ways at the end of the show. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be a pretty interesting series. It looks like Ahsoka's going to be battling a lot of her previous demons. She does blame herself for what happened to Anakin and his fall to the dark side, which it did have a lot to do with her. But a lot of that had to go. A lot of her deciding to leave the Jedi Council and leave the Jedi Order. My apologies, and go away from it was kind of the Jedi Order's fault. I'm sure you've seen that in Clone Wars.
Yeah,
that situation.
I've seen
in Clone Wars. So that kind of is what caused her to split, but a lot of that had to do with Anakin Skywalker's issues with the Jedi Order and the Jedi Council. That kind of is what started it.
Right.
And then from that point, it was pretty much a spiral out of control. So I think she kind of blames herself for that. And she kind of disconnected herself from everyone, not just, and she never allowed herself to really reconnect. So she's never really in one place at a time. So after we see her come in contact with the rebels, she kind of splits off after that again too.
Yeah, so she's kind of like a runner for real, which is kind of sad. But and we kind of see that like in the trailer, how like she kind of mentions how like she left, how she left the girl that she was training.
We kind of saw it
and stuff like
also
that
in the Boba Fett series with when they kind of went off track to the Mandalorian story.
Right.
We kind of saw it there too with her with Luke.
Yeah, so it's like I think it's gonna be not only just interesting story where we get to see like a real like good villain, which is Thrawn, Admiral Thrawn, and so not only seeing that, but
this is still the same Thrawn from Rebels. If it's that Thrawn, then we're in for a treat.
Yeah.
But if we're not looking at the same Thrawn, that might not be the case. And we know that the Admiral Thrawn actor, he was talking about how the Thrawn that we're seeing in the Ahsoka series is not the same Thrawn that we saw in Rebels. And that may be a good thing, that may be a bad thing. But this is kind of a part of Star Wars that we haven't explored yet, which is exciting. It's not an entirely new story like what we saw with the sequel, with the previous, with the most recent Star Wars trilogy. That was bad.
yeah.
But this is a part of Star Wars that I think a lot of people were intrigued about. They wanted to know what happened to Sabine Wren and Ezra, and all of the rebels after, and Hera after the events of Rebels. So it kind of opens up a can of worms that people have been looking for, things that people wanted to know, and it looks like it's going to be pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be cool to kind of dig into a little bit more of Ahsoka and how like she's developing, like her development as a character, and kind of having to face her demons in this series, and kind of see her hopefully by the end of this series able to kind of make things right with the people that she walked away from, and maybe even facing herself in certain situations. I know that people have like also mentioned too, hopefully seeing some flashbacks of Anakin, maybe with her and Anakin, or possible. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of things that people have been wanting to see from that end of hopefully seeing some type of flashbacks. Also Padme as well, hopefully maybe seeing some of the past stuff maybe from her perspective, because we've seen other people's perspective but not her perspective. And so I think it'd be kind of cool to even get that little bit of detail too. That kind
we know her perspective.
I think so too.
She gave up on life. She orphaned 2 children. I
mean, I hope that she
did.
I think that I think in the series it's gonna be cool to see her come back to wanting to being a human, like not a human being, but like like coming back to like like kind of getting that side of her back that she lost, like, and I think maybe that would be kind of like her little journey as well. So Sabine Wren, even seeing her portion, I can tell that there's definitely gonna be a lot of development on her side too, and like her growth not only as like a fighter, but even probably like you said, being a little bit more force sensitive and stuff like that, and seeing her grow like in power, and even maybe facing some challenges, because you saw that battle that she was in as well. I'm not sure what the other character is with the lightsaber.
I'm not sure if it was one of the Dark Jedi or whether or not or if it was an Inquisitor. It might have been an Inquisitor. Actually, no, it's not the Inquisitors because it might be a former Inquisitor because this is post Empire run by Palpatine or the Emperor. So now we're seeing Grand Admiral Thrawn step in. I don't think that Grand Admiral Thrawn would have kept the Inquisitors.
Yeah.
So it's probably one of the Dark Jedi that we saw. And for those who don't know what a Dark Jedi is, it's a person who still holds the values of a Jedi as far as not killing for no reason.
Yeah.
But they use the power of the dark side for certain motives to reach what would be called, I guess, a somewhat righteous goal. I guess.
Right. Yeah, you can tell even with that battle that seems like that's going to be a huge challenge on her end. I just feel like the whole thing overall seems it gives me like I think we're going to be getting different aspects, not only just with backstory and character development, but also like just good battles and stuff like that as well. Like I think they're going to have pretty good threatening antagonists, and so I feel like that's going to be a pretty cool thing to see as well.
So what worries me about this particular series, the only thing that might worry me is it too much. There's supposed to be an Ahsoka series, and what worries me is that it could be overtaken by the Rebels series, only because when you look at Rebels, it's such a strong storyline on its own because we know what Star Wars Rebels was its own series,
right?
So and not only that, but it was one of Disney's more popular was one of Lucasfilm's more popular shows, so we know it can stand alone. The problem is you have Ahsoka who hasn't established herself on her own platform,
right?
She's never had her own show. She's made appearances in shows. For example, we saw with the Clone Wars, it followed her all the way up past Order 66, right? Once Order 66 was executed, and then from that point we see her again later on in the Rebel series, and we kind of see her a little bit in the Boba Fett series, but not too much, and we see her in the Mandalorian series, not too much after that. So we don't see a lot of Ahsoka, and at no point did it feel like they developed her into a character that could have her own show, because we know Ahsoka's character is an established enough character,
right,
in the Lucasfilm in the Star Wars universe to have her own show. But has she been established on film to be that way, in live action to be that way? That's a question. I believe that it's easy to translate Rebels into something live action and it still hold its own.
Right.
But my problem is the problem that could come in is trying to take a character that hasn't been established on her own in live action and meshing her with a group of or with a storyline that already is established, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It feels like it could kind of overtake it. And that's kind of what happened with Boba Fett, where you had a character that wasn't as established in live action as Mandalorian.
Right.
And then they cut out an entire episode and a half just for the Mandalorian. And with one episode, the show that was established took over the entirety of a character that was trying to burst onto the live action scene. So that's what worries me with Ahsoka, is it might be too much. Same thing that DC has been running into a lot, where they're like, oh, let's do a movie with this character, but then they put in like 6 or 7 other characters and they're doing Easter egg, and it's just too much. And that's what kind of worries me with this, is Sabine Wren and the Rebels is such a strong and consistent storyline, and one that everybody is already knows and fallen in love with, especially in the Star Wars universe. How is Ahsoka and Rosario Dawson gonna fit out? Be the face of this show? Is it gonna turn into Ahsoka and the Rebels and Ahsoka, or is it gonna be an Ahsoka show with the Rebels making an appearance?
That's a good question. I think it's probably gonna be like both, like you said. Like, I mean, I think that because people already know so much about Ahsoka, because we already have so much information on her. She even has like the animation show as well, so we have even more backstory and stuff about that. We get a lot about her in Clone Wars, and other series as well. And so it's like even in like even some of the live actions, we get some backstory on her. So I think that's the reason why, to me, it's not really that big of a deal that there's other characters involved, because I feel like we already, people who watch Star Wars, we already know like what the heck is going on anyway. We already know most of her story. So I don't feel like her being like this standalone is as important. I think it's the whole story as a whole that's what's like,
But what were we excited for when the Ahsoka show originally dropped?
I think we were all thinking it was probably just gonna be her, like
Right?
mainly
That's
focused
what you were
around. Yeah.
anticipating. So what I would have expected, and what would have probably been a good idea, to sort of allow Ahsoka an opportunity to see if she's a standalone character in a live action series without her being overshadowed too early, is in the first season we see when we meet Ahsoka again in the Rebel series, she's already collaborating with the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
So why not show the events that led up to that point and that point, and then in season 2 introduce the rebels in kind of that same season 2, kind of mix them in down the line, the same way that you're doing it now. So picking up where you are post Empire, post Rebels, post the Rebel series,
Right.
and start off at that point in the timeline, season 2. So now you can kind of mix that in, or have them make a guest appearance, but. It looks to me from the trailer that they might be a consistent part of the show, and what worries me with that is it might actually kind of boot Ahsoka to the side. Like we saw late. Notice the further we got into the trailer, guess who we started seeing less of and more of?
Ah, you're right. That's what I noticed
We
too.
started seeing less of Ahsoka and more of Sabine Wren.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what worries me. Not that won't be a bad, that'll be a bad thing. It might be an awesome show, but it might be an awesome Rebel show. Not Ahsoka.
Yeah, it kind of seems like more of like a reunion type of series, like where it's just kind of like she's reunited with that past life of hers.
It looks like they were leaning heavily on the Rebels storyline, like where they were showing where they were giving a nod to the Rebel series.
Right.
Like they were kind of bringing back that nostalgia from the Rebel series, and then you fully introduce Hera, and you fully introduce Sabine Wren, and now you kind of have. Rebels. What's a Rebel show? It's a Rebel storyline. It's a Rebel show. Because keep in mind, who was the antagonist in the Rebel show? Thrawn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it feels more like Rebels than it feels like Ahsoka, and that may not be a bad thing. It may be a great thing.
Right.
But at that point, I would kind of believe that it's just titled that the show is titled wrong.
Yeah, I can agree. I think, like I said, like I feel like it could be a good thing or a bad thing. I feel like it'll be, I think for me, looking at the bigger picture, seeing how everything is fitting together, even with the other Star Wars series that are out right now, and maybe that's why they timed it the way that they did, to kind of go based off of those other events from other series, so everything can kind of match together. But I do agree that it would have been kind of cool to kind of have her start off and then kind of leading into that whole thing. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's one thing that DC that CW did well early on with the DC shows, and then they started doing it too much, and then it was just like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because originally, remember the shows where they'll have crossover episodes, they were really popular, but then they were like, let's cross over once a season, let's cross over here, and let's do a show with all of them together. And it's like, and it's just too much.
Yeah.
It's a situation where you can have those crosses, give each of them their own show and have them cross. And then now you can do something like this where you're just putting both shows together, but one character is not being forgotten because that character's already established.
Right.
I feel like Ahsoka, if the show goes anything like what we saw in the trailer, and Ahsoka sort of starts to get phased out, it would feel like her character kind of got pushed to the back burner, and it could cause a problem for them later on doing a standalone project with Ahsoka later,
right?
Because she hasn't been established. The connection with the fans isn't really there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's definitely
live action connection with the fans isn't there.
Not
the animated.
The character in general, I feel like it has a huge fan following, and
But you want to do her justice because of that fan following.
Yeah, I think that I could definitely agree with you on that. I think some people have a lot of mixed feelings about the live action Ahsoka, so I feel like there could be some conflict, you know, as far as even just that goes. But I definitely see where you're coming from as far as that goes, for sure. It would be definitely, it's definitely gonna be something to see. I really hope it's not a situation where it just seems like it's too much at once. But I'm having high hopes that hopefully everything is gonna be timed at least properly throughout the series. Like there's not gonna be like too much all at once, and that it's actually gonna make some sense throughout the series. And so yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I think it's gonna be a good show overall.
Yeah.
It's a matter of it's gonna be true to the identity of what they say it's gonna be an Ahsoka show. And if it's not, and it's still a good show, it's still a good show. But last thing you want to do is put the main character, the person whose name is on the title, in the back burner. And that's what they did with Boba Fett. And they can't do that here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think, you know, even with the whole Star Wars series in general right now, I think a lot of fans are kind of in the same place where it just seems like that kind of seems to happen, where even with Kenobi too, like not saying the same thing happened in Kenobi, but just kind of like being like excited about it, and then you kind of watching, it's kind of like, yeah, it wasn't really.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of like one of those
wasn't
type of
all you
things.
expected.
Yeah. So it's kind of like one of those things where you just kind of got to go into it open-minded and just kind of expect whatever. And hope that maybe that, you know, everything is, like I said, paced out properly, where things are linking together. It seems like from the trailer that could be the case. Because even with even from Andor, seeing some familiar faces from that series, and kind of like, you know, seeing obviously there's some connections going on throughout the other series. So like even that alone is kind of cool to see. So I think I'm open-minded for sure, you know. And so this wasn't like a deep dive look at every detail. This is just our initial reaction. So yeah, this is just my initial perspective on
I
it.
think it's gonna be a really good show.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be very.
I think it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be good too. Definitely a lot of good action, a lot of good graphics and like CGI and all that stuff. I think it's gonna be like well-rounded series overall.
And it looks like they took their time on it.
Yeah, definitely for sure.
All right, guys.
Oh, there was actually another. We're gonna talk about the other Star Wars series that's coming out, or was it a movie? If you guys have heard about the Rebel Moon series, which is basically the Snyder, he basically had his own little story, wanted to kind of create his own little, you know, characters and stuff like that and storyline in the Star Wars universe. So the trailer actually dropped for that, and so we'll probably go into that one another time. I think it's kind of cool, and I think a lot of people are really into that idea of having this kind of like this series, because obviously, like we said before, like with what's going on with the Star Wars series and stuff right now, people aren't really happy. And I think the fans right now are just kind of looking for like something new, a little bit something fresh, something they can have fun with. And so I think this could be a very fun concept.
I think it'll
for
be a
some
fun
people.
concept, but it will not be Star Wars. I want to make that.
Oh yeah, it's not going to be what we're used to. Yeah, it's kind of like its own little, like, not spin, but it's kind of a different, like,
it's an off-brand
Yeah.
Star Wars, because there's a lot of concepts from Star Wars that he can't use because
Right.
it's not Star Wars. It's not Lucasfilm. So I want to make that clear, because I don't want people going into this thinking that it's going.
Yeah, and it's not.
Something that it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
This is not Star Wars. It's something completely different. It's going to be a different storyline, a different method,
Yeah.
a different way that they're doing things. It's something completely different.
yeah.
But it may give us kind of the storyline and the grit that we wanted from something like Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it was inspired by Star Wars.
Right. And I think it's cool that we'll be able to react to that, because I think a lot of Star Wars fans are finding out about it and also are very interested in it as well. So I would love to do a reaction, because it looks like it's going to be really good. So definitely going to look into that in another video. But let us know down below.
Snyder Cut, by the way.
Snyder Cut. I was okay. It was.
How I feel about Snyder Cut.
Yeah, it was alright. It wasn't all
I'm not a
that.
huge fan I'm not a huge fan of
That's
the look of his work.
yeah. That's
It just looks kind of. It makes you feel blah. Like just watching it makes you feel blah.
because it's dark.
It's dark.
I like that though. I kind of like that.
It's not. It's not just the darkness of it. It's like stiff. It's really, really stiff.
I can see what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not.
We gonna see, 'cause I feel like it's probably gonna be really dark.
Because I feel like you can be dark without being stiff.
Yeah. We're definitely gonna talk about that in another video, because I have a lot to say about it too. It's gonna be like a fun little video, but just kind of having fun with that. You know what I mean? Not being too serious about it, just having fun looking at it. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like, we have said all that we need to say, I think.
Feel free to like, share. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
We out.